This happened about a year ago. My final exams were approaching, and I was under immense pressure to score well. Although our school library usually closed at 5 p.m., the principal had decided to keep it open until midnight during the exam period to help students prepare. My home wasn't far from the school, but I found the library's quiet, peaceful atmosphere, far removed from the noise at home, to be the perfect place to study. I arrived at the library at 6 p.m. that day. I became so engrossed in my studies that I completely lost track of time. When I finally checked my watch, it was already 10 p.m. I had never stayed in the library that late before. Usually, I would leave for home by 8 p.m., and even then, I would often find other students around. But at 10 p.m., the silence was so profound that it filled me with an unsettling sense of dread. I had only a little work left, so I decided to finish it quickly and head home. I was just writing the final paragraph when I heard a strange sound coming from the back of the library. Someone was walking, but the way they walked was very peculiar. It sounded as if someone with a disability was dragging one leg heavily across the floor as they moved forward. In that absolute silence, the sound was enough to make my hair stand on end. There was no one else in the library besides me, so who could it be? Fear began to take hold of me. Without a second thought, I shoved all my books into my bag and ran outside without looking back. Outside the library lay that long, eerie school corridor. Most of the lights were off, and the few that were on kept flickering. I knew that if I turned right at the far end of the corridor, I would reach the main school gate and exit. I was walking briskly when something caught my eye. At the very end of the corridor, right next to the exit door, a woman was standing. She was dressed in strange, old-fashioned clothes and stood there completely motionless. Seeing her made me feel strangely uneasy, and my heart was pounding rapidly. As I drew closer to her, my fear kept mounting. Unable to hold back any longer, I asked in a voice trembling with fear, "Who's there?" My voice echoed through the empty corridor. And then, for a split second, the lights went out. When they flickered back on, the woman was gone. She had vanished in the blink of an eye. I let out a sigh of relief and ran out through the school's main gate. Once outside, I saw that the street was completely deserted. This was a road that usually bustled with activity even at night, yet that night, not a soul was in sight. My legs were shaking from hunger and exhaustion. Thinking that looking around would only make me more terrified, I fixed my gaze on the ground and began to walk briskly. I was nearing my home when I glanced at the ground. In the glow of the streetlight, I saw another strange shadow forming right behind mine, one that was slowly inching toward me. Terrified, I looked up and saw that the same woman was now walking ahead of me. She looked bizarre. It was as if there was no life in her body. She was moving so slowly that, despite myself, I had ended up right behind her. Now, I could see her clearly. Her clothes were torn, her hair was disheveled, and, most terrifying of all, her arms and legs were twisted at odd angles. My inner voice warned me, "Kabir, don't go near her." I no longer had the courage to overtake her and move ahead. Just then, the woman stopped abruptly. I froze in place, too, as if my feet had been glued to the ground. And then, what happened next left me utterly terrified. Without turning her body, she jerked her neck backward to face me in a grotesque, unnatural way. Her face was ghastly pale. She stared at me with swollen, terrifying eyes and asked a question that made my blood run cold. She said, "Have you seen my child?" I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't utter a single word. My mind had gone completely numb. I didn't know how to answer that terrifying question. Driven by fear and a desperate need to escape that witch, I pointed toward a dark path in the distance. I just wanted her out of my sight. As soon as I pointed, she hobbled off in that direction and vanished into the darkness within seconds. Without wasting another moment, I sprinted toward home with all my might. I was running, my heart felt like it was about to burst out of my chest. I was desperate to spot a person or a vehicle that could save me. But then, in the dead of that lonely night, a scream from that same woman echoed in the distance, a sound so piercing it felt like my eardrums would shatter. She was screaming in rage, "She isn't here." Panicked, I glanced back. She was suddenly lunging toward me through the air at breakneck speed. My mind couldn't handle the terror, my legs gave way, and I collapsed to the ground. Darkness engulfed my vision. When I regained consciousness, I found myself in my own bed. A neighbor had found me unconscious on the road and brought me home. Later, he told me that back in 1998, a woman named Agatha lived in the area. She had a 10-year-old daughter who attended the same school. One evening, while returning from school, the child died in a tragic accident. Agatha could not bear the shock and passed away as well. Since then, Agatha's spirit has wandered the vicinity of the school and those deserted roads, searching for her lost child. If you ever encounter such a woman at night, never make the wrong gesture, because she always comes back.